Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Podcast. I've gotten pretty economical with these things over the last several months, trying to keep them in that 30-minute range, so they don't just wear out your ears. But this one is going to go a little bit longer because it's a little bit of a two-parter. I'm featuring in this in the wake of the news this past week that. Four Buckeyes have landed a deal worth $550,000 from the foundation headed by Brian Schottenstein. I decided, hey, let's get Brian Schottenstein on my podcast just to talk about where things are with that group and where they're going. As you know, he co-founded that with former Ohio State quarterback Cardale Jones. And then past that, Zach Beebe of NIL Management, who's involved to a certain extent with the foundation, but also represents at least 30 Ohio State football players and maybe more by this time, and other athletes around the country in their pursuit of NIL endorsements, etc. I decided, it'd be a great time to have him on. And, what an energetic fellow he is, jumping right into a niche there with his company to help athletes through these really, it looks like just take the money and run, but taking the money and run is not what it's all about, as Zach Beebe explains about these athletes. And I thought it was really good going into the week of the Big Ten media meetings headed toward the football season to maybe understand what coaches, not just players, but what coaches are dealing with in this NIL era now 1 year in. So without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Brian Schottenstein, and then followed by my conversation with Zach Beebe. So I've got a very special, all my co-pilots are special, but special without a doubt with Brian Schottenstein of the foundation and real estate developer, et cetera, extraordinaire. Brian Schottenstein, welcome to the Tim May Podcast.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate you having me on.
And I think most people understand why I've got you on, man. I wanted somebody to finally explain to my listeners and viewers what's up in the NIL atmosphere right now when it comes to Ohio State, because you guys, you and Cardale Jones especially, I think even went before Ohio Senate group and testified of, why it was important to get into the NIL landscape. And then as soon as it happened, pretty soon after it happened last year, you guys started the foundation, THE Foundation, to basically further along deals, for want of another term, for Ohio State student athletes, correct?
Right. Yeah, we originally testified, and neither of us really planned on getting into the industry other than just trying to help out. We really felt strong that, student athletes should be able to get paid. I mean, other students can get paid for their ability, whether it's a business they're starting or, whatever industry they might want to go in, they can get paid as a student, but why can't athletes? So we testified. Ryan Day and Gene Smith were there as well. And then Cardale had started his own company called 10 Talents, which is separate, where he manages student athletes. And then I saw Texas and some other teams starting these collectives. So I kind of looked into it, and I'm like, you know what, we cannot be left behind. I mean, you see what's going on now with Michigan and their recruiting. And I did not want to start having 8-4 seasons if we weren't able to compete and not have the best NIL platform like the foundation.
Hey, before we get into it, let me ask you this. Were you concerned that is the way things could go if a university doesn't fully embrace, the opportunities, the NIL opportunities for its athletes? Were you concerned that an Ohio State could be left behind big time?
Yeah, I really was concerned about it. I mean, a lot of the recruiting, is looking at what the current players are making a year, and that's part of their decision now, whether they're going to come to Ohio State or another school. And we're allowed to, if a recruit calls us, we won't do a deal with them until they enroll, but we can talk to them about our foundation and deals we've done with the current student athletes. So that's really helped a lot. I mean, you can see we have the #1 recruiting class in 23. And I think without our foundation in place, honestly, I just don't think that would have been the case. I don't want to take all the credit for it, but I definitely think it helped.
Yeah, well, it definitely helps grease the skids. Let's put it that way, right?
Sure, yeah.
Hey, what fired you up more too, though? I mean, obviously Texas A&M, Texas, these schools all jumped in there quickly. And, and you saw the little dust up between Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher earlier this year, where basically Nick Saban was telling his back, the Alabama backers, hey, you got to jump on board here, man. We're getting left behind to a certain extent. But what really would I would think the Texas A&M approach probably got you fired up as much as anything, right? Because it showed what an activist alumni or backing group could do for a university, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. And Ohio State already has a leg up because we have a really good situation. Obviously, our football program is, top in the country, but we also have a great city, Columbus and state, where we have a lot of businesses backing Ohio State already. So some of those other schools that are just pure college towns, they might not have the business community in the backyard like we do of Ohio State. So we're really lucky because we have that college town environment, but in a big city like Columbus, and there's no NFL team or NBA team that we're competing against. So it's really a good situation for Ohio State. I think we benefit with NIL more than any other school in the country.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, yeah, if in fact everybody started rowing the boat, right? I mean, that's the key, is to get everybody on board rowing the boat. I mean, I remember Urban Meyer, like a year after he got here, he was at a little group and he was talking to them, and basically, as he and I talked about, Columbus metro area is about a 2 million metro area now, when you really take everything in consideration. And Ohio State football is the biggest thing in that region, in that footprint, and taking advantage of that, not just of the population, but like you said, of the companies that are headquartered here, et cetera. That was key, right?
Yeah, for sure. And when they do a deal, like we just did this $550,000 deal with 4 of the players, I mean, that's actually a really good deal for some of the businesses because they're able to get a CJ Stroud or Jackson Smith-Njigba when they're in college. When they're in the NFL, they're going to be even way more valuable for some of these brands. So, imagine guys like Joe Burrow, like you could have got him in college. Like, it's very good for these brands, and I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of work, and I'm not personally making anything off of it, but I do enjoy working with the student athletes. And we're raising money from a lot of businesses. That was just one deal, but we have many more similar to that we haven't even announced. So we're really excited about it. And, we just want to be able to give back. And it's not just like, here's a check, go play well. Like the student athletes are learning a lot about community service, volunteering with our charities. They're learning about branding and marketing and dealing with contracts and, taxes and all of that stuff that they need to know for the real world. So it's actually giving them a lot of education, while they're in college.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not the student athletes in the future won't have to worry about the NCAA as much as they might the IRS, right? Yeah. When the IRS knocks, they mean business. Hey, why those 4 guys, Denzel Burke, Jackson Smith-Njigba, CJ Stroud, Trevion Henderson, why those guys to start with here? I mean, what just, obviously, like you said, you're involved maybe with some others, but what stood out about those fellas?
So we've done about 20 deals with different players on the football and basketball team, and we're really focusing on different ones. Whether you're an up and coming freshman or you're a star, senior, we want to help all the players across the board. So with this, we just thought that obviously CJ is probably the most well-known player right now, given that he's a starting quarterback and how great of a season he had last year. So we paired him up with Value City and DSW, both of those companies. And then Jackson's with DSW and Denzel and Trevion are with American Eagle. So we just wanted to have, 4 different positions, offensive, defensive, different players and different type backgrounds. And, we really worked with the brands on who they wanted to represent their brand and their image as well. So we'll do that, but then we'll also do direct deals with players. So our collective on the foundationohio.com, you can go make a donation, any amount. We also have a big event coming up with Coach Day and Coach Holtman and all these players, CJ, Jackson, Trevion. We'll all be there on August 22nd at the Blackwell. You could buy tickets online. And Tim, if you want to come, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
But, so we've done direct deals where we raise money. So any dollar we get goes back to the student athletes, and all the way from, Keon Graves, Paris Johnson, Cam Brown, Julian Fleming, Tanner Holden. We have 4 other football players we're going to announce up until this event, and then 3 basketball players. So we've been really busy, and I think we were the first 501c3 to get that nonprofit designation in Ohio for this type of collective, and really the first one to announce a big deal like this.
Yeah. What are the players' responsibilities? For example, CJ Stroud, what's his responsibility now when you guys hook him up with this thing? What is his responsibility to those companies?
So he will be doing commercial shoots for both those companies, along with social media posts and in-store appearances. And then he'll also be doing charitable work with our charity partners, The Kid Again, Lifetown, and Buckeye Clues for Cancer. So that's part of the deal as well. Yeah. Every single deal of ours has a charitable component because we are a nonprofit. So that's important.
Yeah, Urban talked about that too. I mean, that was big to him and stuff, being affiliated. But past that, a lot of people look at this as like a handout. Here's the thing: your family's been involved, backing Ohio State athletics forever, just like the Wolf family. When it was my bosses at the Columbus Dispatch for so many years and stuff. How cool is it for you to be able to sort of step up and do this for this school you love so much? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. It really is great because, we have a long history of supporting Ohio State. I can remember going to, the national championship game in 2002 and Rose Bowl in 97, with my grandfather, and just, we go to all the games, the home games and some away, and just really passionate about Ohio State football and basketball. And, this was kind of like a good chance for me to get involved. And then also with the charity. So I put all my passions into one nonprofit, even though I'm doing a lot of time working on this, it doesn't feel like it because I enjoy it.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, as you look around now, you just pointed out your history of just watching Ohio State athletics, being involved with as much as you could, but is it stunning a little bit the talent that Ryan Day and his group have assembled at Ohio State? I mean, are you about as excited as you've been for a football team? I mean, obviously you've seen some damn good ones, but it is amazing what they've got going on, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if you look at it right now with CJ, Jackson, Travion, I mean, they could all be top 10 picks with, next year or the year after with Travion. So, I mean, to have a running back, receiver, and quarterback all on the same team like that it's amazing. But it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've talked to Coach Day numerous times, and his work ethic and just his ability to communicate with the student athletes is amazing. I mean, I'm so impressed how involved he is on the NIL front. He's really doing it himself. He's not handing this off to another coach or another assistant. He's hands-on and such a hardworking coach. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah,
I really enjoyed getting to see that kind of up front, which has been nice.
Yeah, I mean, instead of putting his head in the past, whatever, living in the past, he understands the urgency of the situation, right? I mean, it was urgent, right? That you guys get definitely involved in this, and him in particular.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's really involved in this and trying to be innovative and creating different ways for the student athletes to perform an NIL, whether it's the program they have where you can work with a company and also get NIL money on top of it. And they have other programs too that they're working on, and just Ohio State in general. I mean, obviously they're doing everything they can to be compliant and above board. Like some of the other schools might not be following the rules as much, but they are doing a great job.
Yeah, legit. Yeah, he wants to be legit, right? I mean, that's the thing. Hey, last couple things. Where do you see this? Where do you see this going, man? I'm not just the foundation, but we're looking in your crystal ball 5-10 years down the road. Are things going to sort of level out and calm out? I mean, calm down a little bit, do you think? I mean, are companies going to have to see, in essence, return for the money they, for want of another term, invest in athletes and stuff? Well, What do you see down the road in this situation?
Well, I think the NCAA needs to continue to have a level playing field. So I really do believe that you should not be able to pay a recruit until they're enrolled, because then it's like, then it becomes almost like pay for play, and like you won't be, it's hard to compete when schools are offering a ton of money to come somewhere and they're only going to that school for the money. So I think they have to only, you're only able to do a deal with a current student athlete after they enroll, not even a verbal commitment, but they actually have to enroll into the school, which is in December. So that, I think that's important that the NCAA continues to maintain that. Otherwise, it'll be like the Wild Wild West. And so that's one thing. The other is, it'll be interesting to see what the return on investment is for these businesses.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be good, really good. I mean, we're going to be doing video shoots with these athletes actually next week. And it'll be interesting to see how they help out these businesses and how their sales do from these commercials and from the social media and whatnot. I mean, I imagine it's going to be really good, because like, if you're a Ohio State fan and you see CJ Stroud running outside the shoe wearing, DSW shoes and whatnot, I think it would really help their brand. I mean, it's not just Columbus. I mean, there's Ohio State fans nationwide.
Yeah. Hey, last thing, you and Cardale Jones co-founded this thing, the foundation. Is it, as you look back to 2014 national championship run, and then the winter of 2015, when he debated in his mind going to the NFL, but then coming back and stuff, and probably left a lot of money on the table, but is it stunning what he would have made? What is it stunning the attraction he would have been to NIL deals? Let's put it that way, back then and stuff. And is that one of the reasons, like maybe it helped kind of spur you on to maybe get involved with this thing too, of like, these athletes, there's a lot of publicity generated around them, but they weren't really, at least legally, allowed to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing, because like over the years, I couldn't even take a student athlete to lunch or dinner or do anything. I mean, like if I would run into someone that was on a football team, I'd like steer clear, because, being a supporter of Ohio State, like I just didn't want there to be any connotation that I was, involved with that student athlete. But now it's really nice, because like I can help them out, mentor them, and I got a lot of guys that are in the NFL that'll call me and ask me questions about, business ideas or investments. So I enjoy, giving back and helping them out. So that's really nice. So yeah, I mean, I think that is one of the reasons, and Cardale, he realizes, like, after that 3-game streak, when they won the national championship, like he would have gotten a lot of money through NIL, and 12 gauge was big. He could have branded that, sold a lot of shirts. So he's like, you know what, like I didn't get it to happen for him, but he wants to give back and have it happen for the current players. And I think he's enjoyed doing that as well.
Yeah, you talk about pay forward, man. That's getting done now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I like to see a lot of the other current NFL players too, give back and donate and help out. I mean, we do have Terry McLaurin on our board. He's been great. Urban Meyer's on our board. D'Angelo Russell. So we do have some former players and coaches on the board. JT Barrett.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Schottenstein, thank you for joining the Tim May podcast, man. And this is only going to go outward and upward, isn't it? I mean, is that the sense you have of this?
For sure. I think this is only the beginning. And I think, more businesses will continue to sign on with our foundation as they just saw this first deal and as they get more comfortable with NIL.
Well, I appreciate Brian Schottenstein joining me on the Tim May podcast to talk about the foundation, and basically hooked me up with this young man, Zach Beebe. Zach Beebe represents quite a few athletes right out there right now. He and his group, NIL Management. But Zach Beebe, thanks for joining me.
No, thanks, Tim. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, man, we're trying to kind of educate people a little bit a year into this NIL, name, image, and likeness situation, about what's really going on out there. But then number two, to explain to folks that, like, for example, Ohio State stars, you just got just got announced to having this $550,000 deal through the foundation. CJ Stroud, Travion Henderson, Denzel Burke, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. That they're not just they're not just lease floating in a creek down the creek of this NIL thing. They're getting basically some advice, some guidance, et cetera, which is where your group comes in, right?
Yeah, of course. We're a full marketing and management company. We're based in Columbus, Ohio. I myself been in management for 12 years. I've had great relationships with a lot of the athletes. So when NIL arose, I wanted to be there to, be able to support and protect them while also, giving them, a little guidance in business. We have local businesses, and my partner, Ed Brown, is amazing. He's been an attorney for almost 14 years. So that helps expedite a lot of these contracts and keeps it vertically integrated. And these big national and local companies love it because, we can just get a quick turnaround while also keeping the parents in the loop and walking these young athletes through the contract. Because look, Tim, this is real now. You can breach these contracts. This isn't a game. This is business, baby. So now not only, are they getting it done, in the classroom and on the field, but we like to, bring that over to the business world for them.
Yeah, they have responsibilities, is what you're saying, and
Yeah.
not the least of which is to Uncle Sam, IRS, I think is what he goes by. But right on down the line, they have to be aware of all this stuff, right?
Well, 100%. And, taxes are huge. And in a lot of the deals, we've done probably almost 15 car deals by now. But, we work hand in hand with the amazing dealerships, Coughlin Cars, Reichert, into, making sure these guys are aware of the taxes and or find ways that, work beyond that. But yeah, it's not just, guys rolling around in money, right?
Yeah.
An amazing thing that Travion Henderson is doing. He's an amazing athlete, but also for his age, blows our mind. I mean, he just got done, or he's in the middle of his first real estate flip because him and G Scott. Because Tim, let's face it, investing in real estate is very smart, right? Instead of paying taxes on that money you're bringing in, let's use capital gains. Let's get a little. Let's get a little frisky, baby, right? While protecting these athletes and having them grow generational wealth. And that's what we're about.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, I've known of some players in the past who occasionally dabbled in real estate, but they had to do it on their own time. Couldn't what do you want to call it? Couldn't publicize the fact of who they were or what they were doing. But there are some intelligent young men that play football. They're not all rummy dummies, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's something, I love that you hit on is like, these are more than just athletes, and being able to, align them with, amazing people like, Esteban, who has totally taken Travion and G Scott under their wing. I mean, he does close to 200 flips a year, but to be able to, align them with these kind of power players in Columbus, Ohio that, are looking out for their best interests. It's great. But yeah, these athletes, with social media and technology, it's a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
But being exposed to, business at a young age, and yeah, it's wild. But these are very, very smart athletes. So I don't want people thinking this is just like all smoke and mirrors. Like, they have their feet on the ground in this.
Yeah. Well, Travion, for example, I mean, he's had a personal stock account, brokerage account for quite a few years and stuff. And he and I actually got in on the ground floor, in our opinion, of this one electric vehicle company. I won't name the name, but he and I both exalted and gotten our head down, the whims of the market, so to speak. But it's just interesting how he came in with some savvy about him. That's just an example. And he's definitely looking out for the future, right? I mean, that's what this is about.
I mean, it's crazy. When we first sat down with Travion for representation, it was right before the Tulsa game. Right before he had his big, blowout. And he's going to keep obviously, killing it. But what's crazy is he literally had his account set up, right? His stock market, account, and he was taking. That's when they were getting their check, and he was only taking, maybe $100 or so to live off of for food, and he was putting those other monies in diversifying into the stock market. And this kid, like, you go to his, we did a great apartment deal with the city. The city's been great to us with a lot of our players. You walk in there, man, I mean, he has books upon books. Like, that's really who he is. And And, a lot of our guys are, Cody Simon was super interested in medical device sales. So we linked him up with one of the top guys, but it's like, these guys they're moving, baby.
Yeah. I know, exactly. They're not just thinking football 24 X's and O's 24/7 and stuff. Hey, Zach, so as you got in, I'm stammering because there's like 4,000 questions, but only time for a few. As you got into this, as NIL got basically legalized a year ago, about this time, a little bit before right now, from an anniversary standpoint and stuff, were you totally? I mean, you and guys like I've had attorney Luke Fedlam on my podcast several times, just talking about how schools weren't really prepared for this, but athletes were, you know what I mean, to a certain extent, or at least they were prepared to like take advantage of some things. But I don't know what has been the biggest pitfall, do you think some athletes from your observation have fallen into just in the last year with this opportunity?
I mean, I think not proper representation, right? And then taking everyone for their word. These are young athletes, and what's great is they have a young, malleable mind right now, and that can go one of two ways, right? So when you have all these people sticking their hands on, hey man, I can do this, I can do that. When we created our company, it was literally to protect, the Haskell Garretts, who was one of my very, very dear friends still to this day, but to protect them and knowing that, from what I knew with the music industry, these guys were going to be taken advantage of. But I think the other pitfall is, I think the fans not quite understanding this. Like, look, this is something we should embrace. I understand people want to say this is the wild, wild west. Listen, it's only wild, wild west if you create that, right? If you build a and with their best, I guess,
interest,
right, best interest, then it's going to be fine, right? If it's very structured. And the other thing that's great is OSU, we have a great relationship, obviously. In the beginning, everybody's feeling everybody out, but I think they see, at the end of the day, we want to protect these athletes, give the best light to OSU, which has been great to us. And also, we're here to win freaking football games, baby. So, for recruiting and everything else, like, we have to be at the top, and that means we have to do everything correct, and we have to be the best, NIL management company in the freaking, in the nation, baby. And we're right here in the state, so I love it.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. I just want to get to. I mean, do you literally have a book or a website of do's and don'ts that, like, for example, that you can and can't, dabble in, so to speak, with, for example, Ohio State athletes, or has somebody created like sort of a, the word that keeps coming around, in modern times is guardrails for what you can and can't do and stuff. But that's more of what the NCAA is trying to establish,
right.
But I mean, do you literally have like a guideline, or whatever you want to call it, of things, of ventures y'all can possibly show interest in and ones you can't?
Yes, for sure. So the OAC, which we're certified by, they have, a few rules that, we abide by. But really, it's just about good business practice, because look, this is a free market now. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really tell a student athlete who he can and can't do a deal with, except for they do not condone, the weed,
alcohol,
all that kind of stuff. But you are allowed to do, a beer, wine, or seltzer. But look, we've been approached by some very, very large companies, and we've decided that maybe that time isn't right, because there is a correct way to partner with beverage, alcoholic beverages, etc. But we just want to do that the correct way and not jump in. And look, we've done a lot of deals now with some big companies that we're happy with. So it's like, look, we don't need to be pushing that envelope too much right now.
Yeah, but for example, though, I'm not going to name the names, but the possible gambling houses and things like that out there now, or whatever, that's verboten also, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's forbidden. I mean, that's to be. I mean, that shouldn't even be a thought in anybody's mind. But it is crazy, because look, it is coming. I mean, the crew partnered with Tipico. I mean, there's so many gambling, I guess, companies that are coming into town. But yeah, when it comes to that, they are in no way can partake in any of that.
Yeah, it's stunning because I cover the Indianapolis 500 every year and IndyCar racing to a certain extent. I still do that even though I'm semi-retired. And
Yeah.
they have a walk-in spot right there at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway now. Where you can like get signed up, so to speak. But hey, let's just jump forward real quick. I mean, who is just in the last year? Where is interest really? And give people some insight on this. You don't necessarily have to give numbers, but has CJ Stroud just exploded in terms of people showing interest in him? Travion, I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba after ridiculous Rose Bowl. Give people some insight in what the opportunities that are being sort of like thrown at these guys if they want to take part.
Yeah, for sure. It is pretty crazy. But look, these big deals that are coming their way attest to their athletic ability and who they are as a person. With a lot of these deals that they just did this past year, content was king and they killed it. But yeah, I mean, some of these deals, even sometimes to me, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But then again, like, Tim, let's be honest, we're at The Ohio State University. We have one of the largest, if not the largest, viewerships. We have tons of Fortune 100, 500 companies, and we're a huge test market. So think about all these companies that are like, who's the biggest names in Columbus, Ohio? If not, right, the state. We don't have an NFL team here. Like, it is the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? But yeah, the front runners, obviously, as you can guess. But I got to be honest, our guys. I mean, we just did a 21 kid deal with CareSource. We'll be at the first one today with Travion and all those guys over at Kilbourne, and that's sold out as well. But we are spreading the wealth even beyond football. I mean, we have an amazing fencer that we're about to announce a big national deal for. Females gymnastics. We're about to announce a big deal for our girls basketball player. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
But yeah, when it comes back to it, Tim, I'm not gonna lie. Like, some of these deals are wild, and I'm gonna be honest with you, we don't and haven't shared on our end some of the other very big deals that we have done, just because we want to protect our clients first. And a lot of them come from different backgrounds, and a lot of people come with their hands out, etc. And we just got to protect them. But no, we're doing our best job to keep everyone happy.
Zach, how do you play this now with players right now in college football, playing college football, college athletics, like you just talked about the fencer, et cetera, but specifically college football and basketball, where there obviously is a promised land past this that everybody wants to get to, which is the NFL. How do you play these deals where they're not necessarily encumbered or responsible to these necessarily to some of these hookups past their college career, or are you doing that?
No, 100%. And Ed Brown, my partner, does a great job in that. We always have the deals, whether they start at the beginning of the season and end at the end of the season, roughly 2 weeks after, right? So we can wind everything down. All partnerships, if it makes sense, have first right of refusal, right? So if, CJ does a big deal with, say, a Bose, right? And they want to renegotiate that contract with him going to the NFL, that's there. Because the other thing, Tim, is with any of these deals that we bring forth, we never want money to be the reason a deal doesn't get done, right? We explain to these athletes, hey, this is a huge national company. And sometimes, look, this is business. You gotta, if you're going to marry and jump into bed with a partner, you gotta see how the relationship works first. But then after a good solid year, that first 6 months, that renegotiation can be larger. And with a lot of our car deals, et cetera, that's been, true. And with, they do better on the field, the money increases. And, if everybody does what they're supposed to do, it's a very great relationship. But yeah, we protect them in anything. There's no, 2 year, 1 year, crazy deals.
Yeah. Is CJ Stroud? I mean, now Nick Saban has talked about how much Bryce Young is worth. Has benefited from the quarterback at Alabama has benefited from NIL deals. Is CJ Stroud a 7-figure man at this point?
I'll let CJ answer that, but I will say he is doing very well for himself, and I think Saban is very good at marketing, right? But yeah, I will tell you that, CJ is doing very well for himself, and every dollar that we've done and they've done, it's accounted for and it's all factual. So he's doing really.
Zach, step back for a minute. What is just your take on this? Was this a long time coming? Is this obviously an upshoot of the fact that the term I like to use, the NCAA just kept kicking the can down the street, about compensating players and athletes of all types, not just football players, but because whenever you take the field of action in any sport, heck, probably even pistol. I mean, think about that. You're in a room with a guy with pistols, but you're putting yourself in jeopardy to a certain extent, with not much, possible, what do you want to call it, insurance, for lack of another term.
Sure.
Do you like where this is going? Obviously, your business is all about guiding these guys, but what's your opinion of how this has come along, and is it good or bad for college athletics down the road?
No, I think there's always a good and a bad, right? Look, like I said, 36 years old. I'm a diehard Buckeye. I'm from here. My best memories were my dad taking me to the horseshoe, baby. Like, that's what it is, and to the shot. But here, look, everyone needs compensated for their time, energy, and efforts. And this does not exclude these athletes. And I use this as an example. It's no longer the circus, and these are no longer your sideshow animals, right? So with that being said, I love it. NIL management does things correctly. We do it how it's supposed to be done, and we're creating generational wealth and financial literacy. So yeah, look, I'm not worried. I think the people that should be worried are some of the people that have done these, half-assed deals and kind of the other stuff. But look, I get how it can be a scary thing for the fans and everything else. They're like, oh, they're not focusing on football. You need to win me a national championship. Let it be known that is our goal, right? Because if we're not winning on the field, that's what we say. Don't worry about these NIL deals. And I don't know. I guess that's just kind of how I feel on that.
Yeah, but you're aware of the fact that by hook or crook, I mean, just word of mouth, it gets out that Ohio State, Ryan Day has put up, got to come up with like maybe about $13 million a year to keep to be in the ballpark, down the road and stuff. I mean, whether they embrace it in the recruiting aspect, it is part of the recruiting aspect, right? I mean, just like word of mouth, an athlete can figure out that, players at this place are getting compensated one way or the other with these deals and stuff. I mean, that is down the road, right? That it's going to be part and parcel to recruiting, whether it's spoken or not.
Yeah. And like I said, we have a great relationship with, OSU and, a good amount of the coaches. And look, this is a recruiting vehicle, right? And that's why we hold ourselves at such a high standard, because, being able to speak to, Carnell Tate and his father, and just letting them know what we offer and what we do as a company. If we do what we need to do for Ohio State, then we don't have to worry about, right, millions and millions of dollars. We need it, but we can help alleviate some of that burden, because we're doing these, big national deals, and these guys in high school and all that, they want to go to a place where, one, they win freaking championships, and two, they get big national deals and they create their brand at a ground floor. And that's what we're doing. And we can do for a lot of these high schoolers coming out of high school, Yeah.
And they seek you out, right? I mean, the Carnell Tate, for example, what you lay out for him is just what is out there. There's no offers involved, right?
Nope, not at all. It's just like if we sign someone new, they come meet us over at our offices. We have never given a contract when we first meet, any of these athletes, whether they're high school or an OSU athlete. We like to get to know them. And then, look, we have a one page, we have a one pager that it's really the simplest contract ever. And people are like, man, don't you want to protect? No, look, if we're doing what we need to do on our end, we're not worried about anybody going anywhere else. But yeah, it's nuts with our Instagram account and everything. And we started NIL Management, I started that with zero, right? Yeah. And it's growing quickly. And I'm telling you, almost every 4-star, 5-star, whatever star, they're all following that Instagram account. And that's why we're so active on socials, because that's how some of the younger people, that's how we speak, right?
Yes.
So, but yeah, baby, we're tapped in.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're the father, the parents of a big time prospect out there right now for the next several years, you're doing your youngster, your child, a disservice if you don't immerse yourself into what is available, right?
Yeah, well, 100%, and we're glad that we're a nice outlet for everyone to be able to use, and we're very passionate. I don't know if you can tell, very very passionate.
Yeah. No, I can tell, man. I like Haskell looming over you there. He's looking out for you,
Dude. One of my favorite peoples on this earth. He's actually he's in town. He's working out actually right now, and he's getting ready to be sent back to the Titans, and then camp starts. But he's getting in the preseason games and just super, just love the dude. He's
is
great.
he a great guy, or that's what I'm saying? Is he a great guy, or what? I mean, hey, Zach, I was going to say, man, I've run it like we were just talking about Travion, CJ. Jackson Smith and Jake was one of the great young men you'll ever talk to. You know what I mean? And Denzel Burke has got this edge about him that's like palpable. It's it's kind of cool. These guys you're meeting, right?
Yeah. Jackson, to speak on him, I mean, he's one of the most genuinely nice people. I mean, look, we had a charity event for my girlfriend's father, to support, cancer, etc. But, Jackson, there were some things that, we had asked and, on his own time. And instantly he was like, it's not even a word. And that's how a lot of literally almost every guy. I mean, that's what I think OSU does great. And Coach Day, and then they instill in them. I mean, these are young men that are like, there's no cool guy thing here. Like, they are just always on time and a pleasure and amazing. But it to be able to interact with this type of caliber of athlete.
Yeah, and Ryan Day and his staff, they're going after those kind of guys. I mean, obviously you got to be able to run and throw and jump and et cetera, but then past that, they do have it. Hey, well, last thing, because I'll talk many times after this, but I think basically estimate I've heard is like you have 30 or more Ohio State football players, right, that you're repping. At this point, it'll probably grow exponentially if in fact that's possible with just 85 scholarships. But that was the wrong word. I use the wrong word a lot, but I don't know. Is it better for these guys from a group setting? You saw what like some of those schools down south have done or Southwest have done, where like offensive linemen are guaranteed a certain amount, from some kind of funding stuff. But in other words, your point is not just to grow the biggest tulips in the patch, right? But to bring the other flowers along. I mean, just if in fact they want to be brought along.
Yeah. And, look, bandwidth is a real thing. It's me, my partner, it's Jacob Lieberman, our tech guy, because of all the emails. I mean, we set each of these guys up with their own specific email that, when they get an email, it gets shot off to us. So we help field them, whether on the field or, just to keep them focused on what they need to be focused. But yeah, with that being said, look, it's great, right, to have the CJs, the Jacksons, the Travions and all that, Denzels, but everyone needs love and everyone, deserves that. And that's what we do is we try to find something for everyone and keep that ball rolling. But yeah, it is cool. I mean, even with the linemen, I mean, we did the whole, Travion took out all of his linemen and we partnered with Jeff Ruby's and, we got them an amazing partnership with Paloma for mental health, and they get a year free of meditation, among, a lot of other stuff. But we want everyone to win, especially on the team, no man left behind or woman, so
yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard, and we don't want to overextend ourselves. But then again, it's like we have very real conversations. Look, just because you sign with us, you don't get the car, the cash, all these big deals. Like, we're going to work together to make this thing happen. So.
I was going to say $500,000 for this guy, but then $20,000 for this person over here. Let's say, women's soccer or something. I mean, that's a hell of a deal. I mean, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what people kind of get lost in the big numbers and don't realize that the tide is kind of raising all the ships.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the deals that we've done for, some of the basketball guys, which has been amazing. That was very, lucrative for them. Down to, Gabby Hutcherson, our amazing, she did transfer. She was in the transfer portal at Pitt. But yeah, I mean, down to the fencer and gymnastics. But yeah, I mean, we got a lot of things different, moving, we just like to help,
Yeah. Zach Beebe, man. Wow. Appreciate you, man. And like I said, we will talk more as this goes on, because I think some of this stuff is as interesting almost as the football, right?
Yeah.
How much of this is as you sit here and study it, how much of this is about Ohio State continuing to stay in the elite status, of college football? It's all hand in hand, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge, Tim. And we like to say, while everybody else is playing checkers, we're playing chess, baby. So that's why we get out in front of it. And this is the best damn university in the country. And, we're going to hopefully do our part to keep it that way.
That's Zach Beebe, ladies and gentlemen, with the NIL Management. Thank you for joining the Tim May podcast, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you then.